Those that are on the call, this is Rob Brake. He is with KW Energy out of Oshawa, but has a fantastic life down in Costa Rica and the sun there, and rain apparently coming this afternoon. And so Rob is going to talk to us about investing in Costa Rica, whether it's for personal or for their clients, and how to go about the lifestyle down there. So thank you, Rob.
Absolutely. Thank you. Glad to have the opportunity. And I just want to say, we've been working with a lot of agents in the exact same referral type basis as you're used to. So what we're doing is 25%. And down here, the splits are 6%. So it's 3% in USD. So it's pretty good. And I think that's, it's been working really, really well. So that's what we're going to continue to do. And so this is going to be a brief overview of the purchasing process and everything involved in purchasing in Costa Rica. I'm just going to do a quick disclaimer, which I just put in. This will be the first time that I put the disclaimer in, because you never know, right? You just got to check everything. Certain people will ask me, how easy it is to come here and start a business, and it's pretty easy, but there's intricacies and there's things that, may apply to some people and may not apply to others. So blanket answers sometimes aren't perfect. And this is based on my experience alone and not meant to replace the advice of your own lawyer, accountant, or other professionals. So a little bit of background on me. I'm an investor and an investor-focused realtor in Ontario. I've been buying investment properties since 2007. Still have a bunch in Ontario. And like you mentioned, I'm still a realtor at Keller Williams Energy in Oshawa. I have a small team with James Kennedy there, and we're still going strong. We've got 2 listings coming up this week in Peterborough. So still doing that. And a little over 2 years, my wife and I and our 2 boys, we relocated here to stay. And I actually haven't been back yet. So we're loving it. We've adapted quite well to it. A lot of people, there's definitely things that you have to get over. There's more of a minimalist type of lifestyle, especially at least for us anyways, than there was in Ontario. Our house is quite a bit smaller and we're all kind of squished in here, but there's a lot more outdoor space at our disposal. At least that's the way I feel anyways. And here I work with KWEn Luxury Real Estate for over 2 years, I think. No, and coming up on my 2-year anniversary in beginning of August, I think, with them, and helping investors purchase properties here. Typically, most of them are for Airbnb. Not many of my clients are relocating, but I have had some. But the majority of them are people looking to invest here and put them up on Airbnb and use them 2-3 times a year, whatever it is for them. We're currently building a container house in Playa Avienas, which is about an hour south of where we live here in Playa Potrero. I got some pictures in here of it, so I'm going to show that to you guys. And we're just building it. We're developing it for sale. We've got the lot right next to it to do again once this one gets sold. And I am a legal resident of Costa Rica. It's pretty important when you're doing stuff like trading in real estate here to be a legal resident. And if anyone hasn't heard it, I don't talk about Costa Rica a lot because it's very Canadian focused, but we've been doing the Breakthrough Real Estate Investing podcast there for almost 10 years, or actually I think it might be over 10 years now. I don't know. Time has gone really, really fast lately. And we've been doing it for a long time. There's almost 200 shows on there where we talk to different investors, different professionals in real estate, And if anyone hasn't heard it, I recommend go over, and we do talk a little bit about what I'm doing here in Costa Rica, but it's mostly Canadian focused. So a lot of people ask why Costa Rica, and I'll get on the phone with people that say, I'm debating Belize or here or there, and Costa Rica, sell me on Costa Rica. I'm not necessarily here to do that, but we have our reasons why we decided to come here. One of them is this Pura Vida philosophy that is very prominent in Costa Rica, and translated from Spanish to English, it means simply pure life. And so it's sort of like it says on this tile, appreciation for nature, friends, and family, just a laid back, sort of wholesome philosophy. But here in Costa Rica, this is funny, this is a board that was down the street at a restaurant, but you see these everywhere. So it's kind of a joke, but really it is used in all these ways. So the phrase is very popular, and it means a lot of things. It means hi, how are you? Yes, you're welcome, goodbye, thank you. And people even use it like, oh, Jim, I heard your car broke down. Yeah, pura vida, it happens here. So that's just kind of a funny little tidbit on Costa Rica. So really why we moved here, though, was because the ownership of property is the same type of ownership as Canada, is fee simple ownership. A good thing about coming to visit here is you can stay for 90 days on a regular visa, and then you've got to dip your toe out and come back, even if you've got residency in process if you want to drive. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, because there is an option for people that want to stay longer. They've got a very stable government. We've got a new president the people love, and they allocate the money to where it needs to go. Costa Rica, I keep meaning to write this on here, but I haven't yet. Costa Rica has no army. So I can't remember what year they disbanded the army. I believe it was somewhere in the 70s. But now those funds are allocated to back to the people, and mostly in education. And I'm probably going to get this statistic wrong. It might be slightly off, but the last I heard was Costa Rica has a roughly 98% literacy rate among the people. So, the people, because of that, in part anyways, are very happy, warm, friendly, wonderful people. This is a very popular tourist and expat destination. If you look on pretty much any lists of places to go, places to move, places to visit, Costa Rica is almost always on the top of the list. And something else that people don't know is that all of the beaches in Costa Rica are public. So if you've ever been to Mexico to a resort, something like that, you'll have the barriers right on the beach. It's like this part belongs to this hotel, and you can't go past it, right? You get this section of beach. Here, there's nothing like that. All of the beaches are public. You can walk from one end to the other without being stopped or asked what you're doing there. And that really makes it unique and different from other places. As everybody knows, there's a lot of nature, wildlife, volcanoes and waterfalls, and really exotic animals here. So that's another draw for people. You can own and operate your own business pretty easily. Like, for example, just a rough example of that would be like, you don't need to be a resident to come and buy, let's say, a hotel here, or even obviously like, so that might have like a restaurant in it and that kind of thing. So you can buy, own, and operate that property without having residency. You can just live in Canada and operate it from there, and you're allowed to do that. One of the best things yet, though, is no winter. For me, anyways, I don't miss it one bit. We save a lot of money on shovels and boots and hats and coats and mitts and scarves and all that stuff. So my kids get by with just the shorts and t-shirt wardrobe now. So that's another bonus. This just outlines the travel that's been in Costa Rica the last couple of years. So we're starting to grow back up to the peak of 3.1 million in 2019. There was a drop off from COVID, obviously, but last year there was 2.5 million visitors to Costa Rica, so quite significant for the size. This is the container house that we're building. So on the left is the spec picture. On the right is the actual pictures. These were from almost a month ago now. So tomorrow I'm going out and basically it's done. I've got furniture there wrapped up, and I'm gonna set it up there because I believe the guys will be done and everything will be cleaned up. There's 2 lights that I need to put up, and other than that, it is ready to go on the market. I did have it listed before, but it was off the concepts. And when I was showing it to people, they would ask me like, what's this going to be like? And what's that going to be like? So I just took it down. And now when it's finished, probably Monday, we're going to get the real pictures done. And this property is going to be for sale for 415,000 USD. It's a 3-bedroom. You can't really see, from here what the size of it is, but it's 3 bedrooms. The ceilings in the back there go all the way up to the ceiling. So it's 17 feet through, I don't know, about a third of the main floor. And it's got a spiral staircase. That whole roof is a rooftop patio. It's quite nice, and it's about an 8-minute walk to the beach down a beautiful boardwalk. And it's a surfing beach, Avianas. So I just thought I'd share that with you because we're planning to keep on doing this. Like, this is the first house that I do a lot of renovations in Ontario, but this is the first house that we've built and developed from the ground up.
Excuse me, Rob, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, it's Roger here at KWEn Energy. How many containers is that? It looks like obviously it's a couple stacked. Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it 6?
Yeah, it's 4 40-foot containers.
4 40-foots, okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of stack them side by side lengthwise. So then you have, it's like 40 by 80.
Yeah, and there was a lot of cutting, and and the reason why, and there's reinforcement here, like obviously that corner by the stairs you can sort of see in the picture on the top right, like that had to be supported from the top. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff. My builder, actually, the reason why we built this is because just up the street from me, there's a bunch of these. And one of my clients bought, when I say a bunch, there's 3 side by side. One of my clients bought one of them, and I put up, congratulations on Facebook or whatever. And I just got bombarded by, where can I get one of these? People just very excited about the whole idea. And so that's why we built them. And my builder said, quite honestly, you could have built this, without the containers, and it probably would have cost less. But, there is kind of a factor that people like the whole idea of the container house thing. So I think we're just going to keep on using the containers. But I mean, I can see where he's coming from. You could probably pretty easily build something that looked very much like this with just building materials. But yeah, it's 4 40-foot container. Okay, so we're going to get into the buying process a little bit, and anyone please jump in with any questions. We'll have questions at the end too, but if you have something specific to this, it's better to jump in at the time so we don't forget it or move past it. Negotiations very similar to Canada, especially now, I guess. I mean, I haven't been around for a while, actively there, but I know things have cooled off a bit. But here it's still a buyer's market, so there are quite a bit of negotiations that go on, and oftentimes we're a week back and forth, and that might just be because, like, with the exception of me, it seems nobody in this country works on Sundays. So, you can almost forget about doing showings or anything like that on Sundays. But aside from that, everyone just runs on their own time. So things aren't quick here as far as the negotiations go, But then, of course, the time between when the agreement is accepted and the time between close, depending on what the property is, if it's just like a condo or a house, usually is only about a month, usually. So after you've got an accepted agreement, then the difference between there and here is you would have 10 days to get, typically you'd have 10 days to get your escrow account opened and funded for your initial deposit. And that's just because, you know, there's a lot of paperwork and things like that involved with getting the escrow account open, and they know that. So you get a little bit more time. So technically you can have the property locked up for like 9 days before you got to put any money down on it. So that's kind of interesting. And some of the investors use that to the advantage too. We have just sort of changed our PSA at KWEn to have a more all-encompassing due diligence clause. It basically says, you know, we're gonna, you know, it's gonna be contingent on inspections and you know, the title searches and all that kind of stuff. But then it also says, and any other reason that the seller might have or that the buyer might have. So basically, up until the end of the due diligence clause, they can back out for whatever reason they see fit. Closing costs are roughly 4% of the purchase price, and that covers everything, all the expenses that are incurred with buying the property. So that's the land transfer tax, the lawyers, the escrow services, everything that's involved. Roughly 4% of the purchase price. And here it's the buyer's lawyer is typically the one that handles everything. There's not two lawyers involved. There's just one. Property tax is calculated at 0.0025 of the purchase price. So they're pretty low. Anything that, you know, my investors are buying typically is only like, you know, $1,000, $2,000, maybe $3,000 a year for property taxes, max. I mean, obviously, that's just in the investor realm, right? Of things that make sense for people to buy and still make money. If you are buying something, you know, exotic ocean view mansion, obviously, it's going to be more. Vendor take-back mortgages are quite common here. I would say over 50% of sellers are willing to at least consider VTBs, and we've been pretty successful with them. And most purchases are done in cash, but this has been a pretty good option for people. And typically, if you're going to do something like that, the sellers usually are okay with 3 to 5 year term, somewhere in the 8% range. And usually they'll want 50% down. So that's typically how one of those would look here. But recently we've got some lending options. One of the more prominent ones that has been really good is a company called Volo Loans. They're out of Salt Lake City, and they will do 75% loan to value. They've got some different ways of calculating their interest. If you want to lock in, I think it's a little bit higher, but they've got I think a first 2 year under 8%. It's like 7.75, something like that. They always change it, so obviously whoever was applying would have to talk to them about where things are at now. And they'll do a 30-year amortization. So I like the closest thing I've seen to that was 20 years was the highest that we had before that. So they're a pretty good option. And there's more coming into the market, so we're excited to see that. I'll talk a little bit about residency. So just recently they dropped it from $200,000 to $150,000 US investment in Costa Rica to qualify to apply for residency. So that's pretty cheap. That's on the real low end of pretty much anything you're going to find coastal. Obviously, you can go inland and find stuff, but generally that's not where people are going to go if they're coming here. Then there is the pensioner option. So if you can show $1,000 USD guaranteed pension, then you can apply for residency. A letter or financial from a bank or financial advisor showing 60,000 to be transferred at a rate of 2,500 a month for the next 2 years. And there's other ways too. I've got a link at the end for the immigration experts lawyer that we used, and they can answer. Like, there's a bunch of different options too, but these are the most common ones. And then this isn't for residency, but there is a digital nomad program. So if you can show stable income of $3,000 for a single person or $4,000 for a family, they'll give you a 1-year visa so you can stay for the entire year and not have to do the border runs and that kind of thing. So you see where that blue dot is on the screen? That's roughly where we live. And then if you see Highway 1 goes up beside the lake to the border at Nicaragua. So until we got our residency, we would use a tour company out of Tamarindo. They would come pick you up, not at your house, but pretty close down the street. And then they would handle everything. You just basically pay for everything. You give them all the documentation, and you just kind of follow them across the border. Stamp, picture take, and then you come back. So for us, it took like half a day, and it was pretty easy until we got our residency. We're going to do another investor tour. I just sort of hammered this out. Last year we did one, and we're going to do another one. We just solidified the date is going to be November 17, 18, 19. Here's some of this is the itinerary. So, it was basically everyone got there Friday night. We had a meet and greet at a restaurant across from the hotel. They had live music. It's right on the ocean. It was really chill and fun. And then the next day we had a property tour. We talked with the lawyer and some property managers, and we went on a catamaran that evening. So there was a lot of good networking there. And then the next day we had the property tour, and we went to a gated community, and they have like a clubhouse there, and we hung at the pool and then had dinner and stuff. So here's some of the pictures from that. This was Durham REI. Most of these guys are Durham REI members. So if any of you know Quentin D'Souza, him and I, or he allowed me to access all of the members, and we put this together last year. So we're going to do another one this year. I'm going to keep it smaller because there was just too many people to logistically get around and get through properties on the tour and stuff like that. So I think we're going to do maybe 12 people max this year. So if anyone's interested, just let me know. Just a bit of a sample pro forma, and I'm actually going to exit out of this and use a different, let me see here. No, not that.
Sorry, Rob, I should ask the question earlier. While you were applying for your visa, why did you have to jump back and forth between Nicaragua and Costa Rica?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you want to keep your license valid, you have to do that. I think it's a flaw in the way they do things, because if you've got residency in process, that should just allow you to stay, but they don't. So you can stay, but you like technically your license won't be valid.
What license? Your
driver's license.
Your driver's. Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know why that is.
So you're changing basically residencies or places of where you're residing, so it kind of resets that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Is there a limit on how long you have to be gone?
No, that's why. So all we did, well, one time we went to Mexico, but all we did was jump on the tour bus. Like I said, they handle everything.
Right.
And they drive you up to the border. You follow them across the border. There's like 20 people all in the line doing the same thing, and you just cross the border, turn around, and come right back.
Okay, now is that different if your residency is in process or progress versus if you're not applying for one?
It's
Does that make-
exactly the same, except for the only difference is you don't have to leave. If your residency is in process, you don't have to leave unless you want to keep driving and keep your Canadian license valid.
Huh, okay. My uncle owns a business out there. He's lived out there for years. He's actually in the process of selling it. And I remember him saying something along the lines that he had to leave for X amount of time every few months, but he never actually obtained or I think even sought after residency there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's not a certain amount of time, but that
Oh.
might have just been his own, like, what's the point of going somewhere, and
Right,
turning around and coming right back if you're going to be on a plane.
right.
But like, and it depends on, like, this is pretty easy for us. Let me go back to that. Well, anyways, it's pretty easy for us because it's only like a 2.5 hour drive, where depending on where you are, it could be much, much longer. And then, of course, down on the other side, you can go to Panama and do the same thing.
Right.
But, logistically, that might kind of stink. Like if you live in the Jaco area, which is basically right in the middle of the country on the west coast, that's going to be like a 7-hour drive to either border. Or
Right.
8. So that can kind of stink, and your better option might be to go on a vacation somewhere else.
Yeah, he was in Tamarindo, but I must
So
have just
you could do the same thing. Yeah, it's the place that we use is called Natives Way, and they organize everything. It's very easy. I'm not going to dwell on this for long, but this is rough numbers for that property that we're building, just to give you an idea. And you can see my cursor, right?
No.
You can't see my cursor? Moving around? No?
No.
Oh, okay.
Will you share this? Sorry, Rob. Will you share this presentation with us?
Yeah, I can share it.
Okay.
Anyway, so, down at the bottom, you can see the rate of return. If I'm trying to help somebody buy an investment property, we're typically looking for over a 10% return. And this is based on a cash purchase. Okay. So, that's a cash on cash return. Obviously, if you've got a mortgage worked out, then it's going to be much higher than that. But this is based on a cash purchase. And the way I came up with the rental rate, anyway, yeah, I'll just share it with you guys. But that's what we're looking for, is a 10% return. If you can't pull that off, then there's plenty of properties that do perform at that level. So I would say just look at something else. Unless you love it and you're going to be using it strictly as a place that you want to vacation at or whatnot, and you don't care. Go back into this. Yeah, you just can't see it on here.
Now we can see your cursor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, this is too small now, though. Like, Anyway. So here's some resources. This is okay. So here's another thing. If you guys would hate this. This is one of the biggest kind of grudge points that I have is if people want to, let's say somebody calls me and they go, Rob, I want a 2-bedroom condo, between this area and this area, this far from the beach. There is no system like MLS where I can punch that criteria in and they get a prospect results every day. Like that kind of thing does not exist. So what I do is I should put when I do this for agents, I should put an example of what I can show. Well, next, if I ever do this again, I'll put it in. But basically, I just have a spreadsheet, right? You've got to go to all of the different brokerages' websites, and you've got to scan them all for potential properties that fit their criteria. So it's a real pain in the ass. luckily I sort of focus on an area. So I'm anywhere from Playas del Coco, which is a pretty popular destination, down to Avianas, which is just south of the Tamarindo area. So, I can keep pretty good track of what's new and what's coming on the market and that kind of things. And we've got good chats and that for agents. If you're looking for something, you generally put it in there. But it's quite a lot more work than what you're used to. Now, the biggest way to find potential properties is Point Two Homes. And that is sort of like realtor.ca, at least kind of like the closest thing that we have. It's still outdated, and like the smaller brokerages, even if their places are sold, they'll leave them up there because they're the only things that they have. So sometimes it can be quite outdated. There's I've seen stuff on there that, I'll say, what about this place? And somebody that's been around for, a while say, oh, that sold like 7 years ago, So it's still pretty Wild West. There is sort of the makings of an MLS system. The problem is that it's sort of an independent thing. And unless everybody signs on, which there's a lot of reluctance for this reason, that reason, politics between brokerages and things like that, where, I think it's going to be some time before it's all worked out and there's like a central location for everything. Anyway, we can still find good places. So KWEn Costa Rica is our website. It has more than just our listings on it, though. It has like almost all of them from at least the bigger brokerages. So that's a good place to look. Point Two Homes is a good place to look. My Tea and Feet is a good blog for just they've got blogs on there for pretty much anything you can imagine to do with Costa Rica. So it's a really good website to check out for information. And then this is the one for the immigration lawyer at the bottom there.
We're still on your spreadsheet, Rob, right now.
Really? Okay, hold on.
There we go.
Okay, and if I do this, still
Important resources right now.
okay. Can you see that?
We can see the important resources slide.
Okay, what the heck? All right. Let's just do it this way. There we go.
Yeah, that works.
That's the podcast I was talking to you about. I started a Breakthrough to Costa Rica podcast. I think there's 5 shows on there. We talked to some really good people, but I'm not doing it anymore. But there's some good shows on there. And then this is our company, Point Break Homes. And so you guys will have this presentation. You can reach me at these ways. And if anyone has any questions, we can go to that.
I guess the question I have, Rob, is earlier saying the house that you're building is going to sell for $415.
I hope it.
Yeah. What would the average what does the average house look like and price points? Like if you could describe it for us.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So it actually it's quite location based, right? So in Tamarindo, let's take a standalone 3-bedroom, 2-bath house is going to be like 600,000 probably and up. If you go to Playas del Coco and try to find the same thing, you can probably find it for maybe even mid 300s. So it really depends on the area. And the reason for that is that Playas del Coco is great. I like it. It's definitely more affordable, but it's much more saturated with condos and it's more sort of a retiree town. And Tamarindo is, where it's quite a bit younger. It's a surfing town. There's only a few beaches around here that are great for surfing. Playa Grande, Tamarindo, and Avianas. They hold competitions at all of those beaches. And so, as a result of that, they're more desirable places to be and the prices are higher.
You 300 to 600, that's Canadian dollars, or is that back to US? Which
Everything's USD.
these are all US.
Yeah.
What you just kind of briefly mentioned, there's more condos up in Playa del Coco, I think it was.
Yeah.
Now, what do the condos look like, and are there fees associated with them quite similar to how we have here, or would the fees be much more reasonable?
You can find some pretty reasonable condo fees. So, okay, so in Playa del Coco, there's quite a few that are like a 15-minute walk to the beach. There is Las Palmas development where, you know, the more affordable ones are. There's Sombras and there's Pacifico. Those are probably the biggest ones. And so if you just use Playa del Coco, or Las Palmas, I'm gonna say you can get a 2-bedroom condo in there for probably $250. You're only maybe 10 or 15 minutes from the beach, depending, and all the shops and restaurants. So HOA fees in there are probably going to be, you know, there's all kinds of different styles and models and you know, and everything in there. So probably your lowest condo fees are going to be around $200 a month. Most of the time that'll cover water as well, and you know, the security, groundskeeping, facade, and up from there. You know, like I've got a listing right now in Playa Ocotal. It's a 2-bedroom condo, ocean view, and it's the HOA fees there are over $600. So again, you know, they range.
And I'm assuming then the amenities that they would come with would range as well. Then some would have a lot.
Yeah. So like the one that I just mentioned, my listing in Ocotal, it's at Azul Paraíso 10C, if anyone wants to see it. So the condo's only $499, but it's, you know, it's upscale. It's really nice. You got ocean view and really nice finishes and amenities there. So yeah, of course. And then, you know, Las Palmas, you're getting, you know, a pretty plain, again, like it's beautiful because it's right next to the beach, but you're in a pretty plain, simple 2-bedroom condo, you know, not much to see even out the windows really, maybe the pool. And then, you know, but you're walking to the beach in 10 minutes.
What are you seeing most of, Rob? Are you seeing people that are buying to invest, they're pulling maybe some equity, or they have some money and they're like, guess what, I'm in my retirement years, or I want to start buying an investment property, I want to stay out of Canada, so I'm going to buy a 2-bedroom condo, I'm going to Airbnb it, and make money towards that, or they're just cashing out here in Canada, North America, US, and they're going up to, you know, like you said, Playa Coco, and just buying a place and hanging their hats there. What's the mix?
Yeah. I'm going to say probably 80% are just investing. And then the others. So obviously I haven't worked with any Canadians on relocating. I don't think I have. They've all been Americans, but I do know like several Canadians that have reached out to me, and you know, yeah, the whole idea of just actually talking to one guy now who's gonna his plan is to totally expatriate from Canada, so he doesn't have to pay the tax over the next 2 years. So I mean, it's a mix, but I'd say it's like 80-20. Most are just investors.
So like I'm interested in this presentation. I'm so glad that I showed up today, for many reasons. I mean, my wife has lived abroad. She's in education. She's taught overseas in Hong Kong for 11 years. She's already looking at teaching in Bahrain, etc. So maybe I'm gonna have her put Costa Rica and stuff on there to do that. But where my next question really to you is, like I do have investors, and they're going up north to Kawartha Lakes, and they're looking to buy a brand new 4-season property to rent in a cottage where they're going to see winters all the time. And instead of going the proverbial, Florida state, the snowbirds, sorry, maybe Costa Rica could be an option. What's the cost of living like, and things like that? I mean, you obviously, you're Canadian, you lived out here, you know what things cost out here and what you make. They're going to be retiring or take an early retirement. How long can they live off, living and things like that? So it probably is a broader question, but.
Well, it obviously depends, because so one of the big differences is here, I don't have a mortgage like myself, right? So that's a huge difference between living there and living here. But I'm paying for my kids to go to school now, and their tuitions are roughly $600 each USD a month, and they don't even give you the payments. So So one sort of replaces the other, maybe not on quite the same scale, but there is that expense there. If it wasn't for that, I mean, the cost of living would be quite low. And of course, it depends on your lifestyle, right? Like, we go out to eat at least 3 times a week, if not 4 or 5, because we just enjoy the whole vibe. And the town where we live has so many great restaurants. So we find that we're out spending money. But I mean, it depends. Cars are more expensive here. And I recommend, if possible, you buy a new one, because if someone's selling it, typically I've found it's for a reason, not because they're leaving, but because the car's a giant lemon. So I'd say gas is roughly the same. Internet, good high-speed internet here is only $45, so maybe $60, right? What am I missing? Electricity is about $400. It's pretty expensive. Depends too. If you're running air conditioners, we run our air conditioners constantly, because it's really, really hot. So that's usually around $400. What am I missing?
Okay, so if somebody didn't have the retirement, they're going to have to go there and roughly make anywhere between, I don't know, 60, 70,000 USD if they didn't have a mortgage, just to enjoy their lifestyle and have their bills paid, that kind of thing, and still be able to go and have dinner, is what you're saying, more or less?
I don't think so. I think that's quite high. I think you can do it on a lot less.
Okay. Last question for me anyway. Sorry, I'm asking a bunch.
No, please.
How do we transact? How do you work? Let's just say I'm putting the cart way before the horse here. I got a friend, Joe Smith. He's like, yeah, Roger, I'm interested. I want to buy a condo in Costa Rica. We were there on holidays last year. We want to move forward. And I said, well, I know a great realtor out there. I'm going to put you in touch with them.
Yeah. So I mentioned that at the beginning, but it's we're doing same referral fee is there. So 25%.
Okay.
On the referral, and it's the commissions are 3% per side here, so it's a little bit better.
And it's in US dollars, so.
Yeah, it's in US dollars.
This is all getting better as we go here.
Rob, I have kind of an off-topic question, but I do believe that we used to be neighbors. On Ritson. My dad lived at 745 Ritson. Do I have the right Rob?
Yeah.
Okay. Groovy.
I'm just gonna close that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he sold that place last year. He's up on Rice Lake now, but it's a very, very small world. Interesting to see. You're living my dream life out there right now, my friend.
Yeah, we still own the house next door to it.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I just had to sink a whole bunch of money into it over the last couple of months to redo the whole basement. But anyway, so if you guys know anyone looking for a cheap 1-bedroom apartment, I've got one on Ritson Road South. We're gonna do 1,100 all inclusive. So I just want to get it rented.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, if you can find me a good place and I can relocate out there, I'll pay you 1,100 to store my stuff in the basement and have a place to lay my head when I come back.
All right. Sounds good. We'll keep in touch then.
Yes, please.
Is there any other questions?
Good, you're good.
I'm good. Will you filter, will you coordinate the presentation from Rob then and share that? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I think we're all good here, Rob. So thank you so much for this. And I'm jealous looking at your background right now.
Yeah, me too. He, like Tasha said, he's living my best life anyway. That's awesome. Congratulations. And it was great meeting you, Rob. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.